In this video, I am going to discuss about Gestalt principles of perceptual organization. The Gestalt team members are Max Wertheimer, Kurt Kopka, Wolfgang Kohler. Created by Max Wertheimer, Kurt Kopka and Kohler in 1920s, Gestalt psychology is a school of thought based on the notion that behavior and the intricacies of the mind should not be studied separately but looked at as a whole, because this is often how humans experience events. The Gestalt principles of perceptual organization. In trying to express the notion that the whole is not the same as the sum of its parts, Gestalt psychologists created a series of principles known as the Gestalt principles of perceptual organization. These principles, which are actually mental shortcuts that people perform in order to solve a problem, successfully explain how objects that are smaller can group together and become objects that are larger, and show that there is a difference between the whole and the various parts that make up the whole. These theories attempt to describe how people tend to organize visual elements into groups or unified wholes when certain principles are applied. These principles are the law of similarity, the law of Pragnanz, the law of proximity, the law of continuity, the law of closure, and figure ground. The first law is law of similarity. That is, people tend to group together items that are similar. In the following image, people usually see vertical columns made up of circles and squares. This image also exemplifies similarity in that the little black pupils are seen as one group and the yellow is another. Although all the same shape, our brain organizes them into two groups. One of these things is not like the other. If this image only contained the rounded crowns, our brain would group them as two different sets, black and white crowns. But there is another element, the one pointed crown. That one is not like the other. So the similarity of the black and white rounded ones is strengthened. The pointed crown is the outcast. The law of Pragnanz. In German, Pragnanz means good figure. The law of Pragnanz states we view objects in their simplest possible form. In the following image, instead of seeing a series of complex shapes, we see 5 circles. The law of proximity states that when objects are near one another, people have the tendency to group them together. In the following image, the circles on the right appear as if they are grouped together in horizontal rows, while the circles on the left appear as if they are grouped together in vertical columns. When we look at this image, instead of seeing black spots and yellow circles, we group the black dots together because of their proximity and similarity and see them as the figure of a Dalmatian. In this image, if the flying black person figures were more spread out, that's all we would gather from the image. Little flying people. Instead, they are close in proximity in our eyes, forming the shape of a tree. The law of continuity. The law of continuity states that people will find the smoothest part when points seem connected by curving or straight lines. These lines will appear as if they belong with one another instead of appearing as individual lines and angles. In the following image, instead of viewing the bottom part as a separate line, we view it as an extension of the series. The law of closure. The law of closure states that our brain have the tendency to find in gaps when objects are grouped together so that the grouping can be seen as a whole. In the following image, for example, the gaps between the objects are ignored by our brains, and we complete the contoured lines. Our brains fill in this missing information and create triangles and circles, shapes that are familiar to us. Continuation occurs when the eye is compelled to move through one object and continue to another. Object continuation occurs here because the smooth flowing crossbar of the edge leads the eye directly to the maple leaf. Closure occur here, although the panda below is not complete. Enough is present for the eye to complete the shape. Now figure ground. Figure ground refers to space, forms or shapes within a specific composition. Basically what this means is figure ground is the state in which we view elements as either the object of focus or the background. We have all seen Rubin's glass at one time or another. It is the best known example of this phenomena. We will have realized that it is impossible to perceive the faces and the cup at the same time. In this image, the eye will first focus on the dogs, as they are initially seen as the figure. When you change your focus to the ground or seemingly negative space of the image, the eye adapts and uncovers the image of the settled space needle. Now, Gestalt therapy. Gestalt therapy is a form of psychotherapy in which self-awareness and self-acceptance are considered key to personal growth. It emphasizes creativity and collaboration in the interaction between you and your therapist and uses active techniques such as role play. Common Gestalt therapy techniques are role playing, dream analysis, hitting the sofa, self-aware, etc. A common technique used in Gestalt therapy is that of role playing. This helps an individual work out a resolution to an otherwise unfinished situation or problem. The most common role playing technique used is the empty chair technique, where a person will talk to an empty chair as if someone were sitting in it. This technique not only allows one to vent but also helps a person find new ways to solve their problems. Gestalt therapy also places great emphasis on dream analysis, believing that dreams can bring out the psychology of an individual as well as any trauma from the individual's past. A technique commonly used in Gestalt therapy is to have an individual write their dreams down for 2 weeks. Choose one that feels particularly important or significant and actually act it out. This allows a person to reconnect with parts of their experience that have since been disowned. Another common technique used in Gestalt therapy is hitting a sofa with soft bats or padded sticks to release feelings of anger. By visualizing what you are angry about and hitting it with the bats or sticks, you can release unproductive anger and move on to focusing on your true self. One of the most famous Gestalt therapy technique is also one of the simplest. Because the idea behind Gestalt therapy is to become self-aware, one must first increase their self-awareness. This can be done by saying, I am aware that, and defining oneself in that way. You can say, I am aware that I am sitting at my desk. I am aware that I feel sad right now, and so on. This technique helps keep a person in the present, separates feeling from interpretations and judgments, and helps produce a clearer version of how that person understands himself or herself to be. Now try this.